Then a little bit about the structure of how today is going to run and what you can expect. This webinar is being recorded, so it will be on Scriptation's YouTube channel as well as on the blog section of their website. If you have to jump out for some reason and miss something, or you want to go back and revisit, or you want to tell your friends that couldn't make it here today, feel free to use the chat. Though if you have any questions for the panelists or for the Scriptation team, please put those in the Q&A. The chat will be just more amongst the participants, more of a social kind of thing. But feel free to talk in the chat about how you use Scriptation. If you want to talk to your colleagues or talk about some of your favorite things and tips, feel free for the chat, but otherwise put things in the Q&A or else we won't notice them. Let's talk about Scriptation and what that is for those of you who haven't used it before. Maybe some of you came here today not even really knowing what it is, but just being here to hear about cinematographers' prep process. So Scriptation is an app, started as an iPad app and now is available for Mac OS as well. And it integrates there's a free version that is fully functional. It's not just a demo that expires that you could use if you want to check it out. And then there's also an industry pro version that has additional tool sets and a Teams version, which is something that a production can purchase a license to and then have like private sharing within the members of the crew for that production. So the basic thing to know about Scriptation is it is a way to make notes for your scripts for all departments, and it has a very robust tool set. You don't need to know, or I'm sorry, you don't need to adapt your tool, your way of working. I would say that there are so many different kinds of things in there that the beauty of it is that everyone can use it differently, and that's part of what we're going to go through today. What makes this app special and different and specific to our industry versus just annotating on a PDF, for example, is the transfer function. And we're going to actually show a little video of how that works, because seeing it in action is the best way to understand what it does. So let's say you're making notes throughout prep, or maybe even for your interview on your script. And then, you know, the production draft gets released, or then come the blue pages, then come the pink pages. We all used to moan when a new script release came out, because that meant taking all of our notes and transcribing them and removing them over to the new draft. Or sometimes people would just stick with the white pages and forget the changes because they didn't want to deal with moving their notes over. So with Scriptation, when you get a new version, all you have to do is open the old version and open the new version and hit transfer, and all of your notes move over seamlessly. Let's look at Steve or Alex. Let's show that transfer video. And then when we come back, I'm going to introduce the rest of our team here today.
Stand by for the transfer video.
Hi, I'm John Scott, and I'm a producing director, and this is my Scriptation. Before I started using Scriptation, I would put all my notes on my scripts the old-fashioned way. I'd use Post-it stickers, I'd use highlighters, I'd use pens, whatever it takes to keep myself organized. But with television, there's always multiple drafts of scripts coming in. So what that would mean is I'd have to take the old draft and all my notes and all my Post-it stickers and transfer them over to the new draft, which usually means I would lose an hour or two out of my production day. Now that I'm using Scriptation, I can take my old draft and have all my notes, and I can transfer them to the new draft in seconds. So here's my current draft. As you can see, I've got a lot of notes, I've got a lot of annotations, there's even storyboards, there's pictures, everything I need is on the script. So here's what I do. I open up the new draft, and I hit the transfer button. I hit the previous draft, which has all my annotated notes. And then I select begin. Now you can see in a matter of seconds, all my old notes have been transferred into the new draft. Using note transfer in Scriptation is awesome. In the end, it has saved me hours and hours of note transferring time, and that's a benefit for me because I can spend more time in production or I can spend more time at home.
Awesome. Thanks for that. I think, if you hadn't seen that before, you might be, wow. And then the first time you do it, you're like, oh my God, is this really going to work? Or is it going to screw up? Well, where it's not going to know that they omitted this scene and this scene became this scene. And I don't know how it works, but it does. It also gives you a report to tell you if you want to cross-check something that, maybe the section that you made your note on got omitted, and maybe the software doesn't know what to do with that note. It'll flag you so that you can find it and make sure that you don't miss anything. But anytime I've checked it, I never found anything that was not filed correctly. So I kind of stopped checking because now I trust it. So how today's going to go is we're going to introduce our panelists. We're going to talk a little bit about how each person uses Scriptation and our prep process in general. Steve Vitolo, who is the creator of Scriptation, is here with us today, and he will be monitoring the Q&A. So some questions he may just answer. If they're easy and quick to answer, just by typing an answer in the Q&A panel. Other questions, we'll save for the end. There will be a Q&A opportunity at the end of the session. And my favorite part of today is that each of us is going to go around and screen share our iPads and show you some sample pages from some scripts and projects that we've done and talk a bit about our process. The most exciting thing to me about today is I've been a cinematographer for 25 years, and I went to film school, and I used to be an electrician, and I learned a lot about cinematography and my career and leadership and crew structure by working on set. But I never learned that much about prep because everyone's prep process is very individualistic. It's very private, and it's a huge part of the creative process. It's a huge part of the cinematographer's job. And I find that you don't get too many opportunities to learn about how other people prep. And from the mentors that I've had, and from the opportunity that I had to shadow on The Good Wife with Fred Murphy, where I get to shadow him in an entire episode as he was an alternating DP. So he did get to prep his episodes, and I got to attend tone meetings and concept meetings and production design meetings, and just seeing someone else's prep process taught me so much that I never would have known because you don't get access to that. So today we have a little window into a few people's prep, which I really think is a unique opportunity that I'm excited to share with you today. So let's start. I guess I'll introduce myself first. My name is Jendra Jarnagin. I share my time between New York and LA. I mostly work in independent film, episodic television, commercials, and music videos. I love prep. I think a movie is made in prep, and that prep is very important. I guess that's really all I'm going to say about myself for today. Gonzalo, let's go to you next.
Hello, hi. So yeah, I work mostly episodic TV, movies, advertising not so much anymore because my time's just gone to episodic. And for me, I do like prep, but I like to be on set. But I know how crucial prep is, so I try to do as much as possible before, even though the more you do, the better the set goes. So that's my philosophy. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of it for me also as an intro.
What have you been working on lately, Gonzalo? For those of us who are not familiar with your body of work.
Oh, so the last things I've done. I did the Man in the High Castle. I shot 4 seasons of that, rotating with Jim Hawkinson. Then the last thing I did an episode of Fargo, and then I did like 6 or I don't know how many episodes of Outer Banks for Netflix. In which this came really handy because the prep was so limited, and we had a lot of crossboarding with different episodes, and we basically were shooting 5 or 6 episodes at the same time. So this was kind of crucial. Yeah, then that's what I've been doing for the last year, I would say.
Awesome. Byron, let's go to you next.
Hello, everybody. I'm Byron Werner. I'm also a cinematographer, and as Gonzalo said, I love to be on set, but I actually do like to prep a lot. I get bored after a while. I want to get on set, but while I'm actually prepping, I really enjoy the process. I really love organization, and Scriptation has helped me a ton with that. I use Scriptation not only as a script, but I also use it as a digital binder on my iPad. And it's with me all the time. I keep everything in there, whether it's references or the script, or I even sign deal memos or anything that I need to do during prep using Scriptation. So it's my main app, my main go-to.
And what kind of stuff do you usually work on?
So, well, in the past 10 years or so, I did a lot of commercials and music videos, but of lately it's been more movies. So I did a movie called The Last Full Measure that came out in theaters last year. And then just recently I did a movie right after, well, my first COVID movie called Gypsy Moon with Lena Headey and Sam Worthington. And I just finished one of Amazon and Blumhouse's Welcome to the Blumhouse movies, the last of the 8 that they did. So.
Awesome. And Rob?
Yeah, hi there, Rob Draper, yet another cinematographer. And yeah, I started off in TV news and sort of slowly worked my way up, and I've been doing this for about 42 years now. So still going strong and still loving it. Currently working a lot in episodic, and I've just finished 3 seasons of the new Shudder series Creepshow, and I have a feature awaiting release in Australia. It's going to be released, I think, late our summer here, but winter in Australia, and that's called Love You Like That. And some of the stuff that I'm going to show you today is from that feature, because I can't show some of the stuff from Creepshow because the episodes haven't been released yet. But I started off using PDF Expert, and because I do an enormous amount of prep, primarily because, as everyone knows, when you're shooting TV, you've got to work like a bat out of hell. And so you don't have time to be second guessing yourself. You don't have time to be trying to work out where you're going to put a light. You've got to pretty much know where everything's going to go and how it's going to work. So I do a lot of prep. And since Scriptation came along, this ability to transfer into the new pages into it, and total scripts in, and switch all your annotations across is just mind-blowingly simple, and saves an incredible amount of time. So, but I use it in conjunction with a couple of other apps, and I'll sort of show you that as we go along.
Awesome. Steve, can you introduce yourself, the man behind Scriptation? Oh, you're muted.
Of course, I was telling everyone in the pre-meeting not to do that, and so naturally I'm the one that does it. I'm trying to stay in the background and let the smart people talk, but I created Scriptation. My background is as a writer. I started in the writer's office as a writer's assistant, script coordinator, and I was the one putting out all those revisions that everybody hates, and noticing that the script revision process was totally insane. And I saw people, rewriting their notes just constantly through every script revision. And if we got, you're kind of told as a script coordinator that, let's say it's a 30-page script and there's 16 revision pages or 20 revision pages or something. They're like, oh, we'll put out a full script. And that's totally wrong, because every time you talk to an AD or a script supervisor who I'm usually in contact with about this, they said, no, like, don't put out the full script. Even if you have like 25 pages on a 30-page script, just send me the revised pages, because I want to keep my notes that I have on the 5 other pages. So I knew that there was an issue there, a problem that needed to be solved. So I started Scriptation in 2013. That the idea was to make notes digitally and then intelligently transfer notes from draft to draft to draft to solve this script revision problem. And that's kind of the core tech. That's how it started. And we're going to see today how some of the best DPs that I know use the app in ways that I never even thought they could use it, from some of the stuff they've shown me, just even in, I think I met everyone through probably the support channels of Scriptation, and that's how I know everybody here. And when, you know, I've seen some of their scripts, it's just insane. It's really elaborate. And I think that'll be really exciting to show everybody. So I'll kick it back out to Jendra. Thanks so much, Jendra, for hosting this.
You're welcome. I just want to tell people, in terms of the support channels being that how you know each of us, that a lot of people are really pleasantly surprised to hear how responsive the Scriptation team is. And basically, I've talked to people and they're like, oh, I wish it did this. And I was like, send them a feature request. Like, that's how the app has become what it is, and that's how it's evolved. So it's if you ever have a problem with something, I think I've texted Steve in the middle of the night, like, my subscription activation stopped working and I'm shooting in the morning. They know our business and how it works. I mean, I'm not promising that you can text Steve in the middle of the night, but
No. I clock out. We have support now. That was early. Yeah, support now.
But the speed at which they do respond when you have a problem, the amount that they continue to evolve the tools and things that we wish the app could do is incredibly nimble and very impressive. So it's I've found, like, you know, as I've become an unofficial Scriptation ambassador and gotten to know other people on that are in that club, that you're basically like forming a relationship with the company, and you get to know Steve over time, because it's a very personalized company. So that's something that I was pleasantly surprised to discover upon using it. Byron, let's hear a little more from you about how you use Scriptation, what your prep process is like in general, like how do you prep? What are your philosophies on prep? How does Scriptation fit into that? How has Scriptation changed how you prep? When did you start using it? How has your use of it evolved as you've used it more and more, and things like that?
I can't remember the first movie I used it on, but I think it's been 3 or 4 years. I think I've used it on 5 different movies, maybe 5 or 6 different movies. And to be honest, I use it on movies. I also use it on commercials, even if it's just bringing in the boards and marking them up. I use it on music videos. When I first read a treatment from a director, if I'm interested in doing it, I have some ideas, I'll start writing on their actual treatment. I'll start marking that up to really get my ideas flowing as well, so that I can present it to them. In general, when it comes to a movie, when I read the script the first time, maybe the second time, I'm not necessarily writing notes. Maybe I'll write some every once in a while, or just make some notes on some movies that it reminds me of that I want to pull images from later for my lookbook. But once I get awarded the movie, that's when my process starts. So for me, I like to go through and I start with separating all the scenes with lines. It's just something I do, and then I try to color code. So I like, in terms of the scene, I like to look at it really quickly, and I want to know whether it's morning, day, or night. So I'll use, you know, something yellow for morning, or orange for day, and blue for night. And so I like to know that very quickly. The one thing that I would suggest to anybody is I love also using the stamps. So I go in and build stamps beforehand. So I have them all a bunch ready. You know, it's not as crazy as, like, you know, I'm going to use a 24mm lens or anything like that. But really it's about, you know, is this going to be a dolly shot? Is it going to be multiple cameras? You know, things like that. And, you know, whether it's going to have green screen, and like just little notes where I can just pop the stamps in whenever I think of something, you know, a little dolly in or a crane here and there. So I really like that. And, so basically for me, it's just about going through, underlining, all the stuff I used to do on paper, to be honest. It's just now, as everybody said, you can transfer it. You can also just pop these stamps in wherever you need them. You can highlight things very easily. And so the other thing that I'll do is, like, for instance, the director I just worked with recently, she did a beat sheet for every single scene. So I took I made the facing pages, and I took her beat sheet and put it on the other side. So in the morning, every morning when I woke up for the scenes that I was going to be working on, I could reread the script and my notes, but I could also see her beat sheet on the other side. And that was incredibly helpful for me. So, because I don't actually, sometimes I'll put pictures in there every once in a while, and storyboards, but I actually do mine in a separate document, but I keep it in Scriptation, and I keep it open so that I can go from the script to, my references, to the call sheet for that day, to the schedule. And so, that's some of the things that I do. The other important thing for me is I always make notes on the schedule. Every time I get a new one, I write the notes on the schedule. If the AD is a Scriptation user, I may send them just the layer of that. But in general, mostly I'll just make my notes so that they know what to put into Movie Magic. I want a crane, I want atmosphere, or hey, can we just move this scene right up here? Can we reorder this? And then I'll send them a PDF of that. So that's another incredibly useful function of Scriptation that's just outside the main script.
Awesome. Look forward to seeing your script in the next section of the show and tell.
Okay.
Gonzalo, can you talk a little bit about your prep process and how Scriptation fits into it?
Yeah, same thing. I would say just notes. The thing about how many times you read the script, it's basically hundreds of times. And then since the first time you read it, you want to sort of capture your ideas, because sometimes they come and then they'll go away. And then by the time you're like on week 3 of prep, you forgot what you had in mind for the first. So for me, I'm kind of the same. I don't really write on the first time I read the script, but the second time I will for sure. And I'll just start to making notes about just thoughts, Same thing, I have a color-coded system for day and night, because I want to know exactly, then you're like, oh, this is a lot of night, and faster way than just by reading the script. I do squares instead of, I used to do lines to separate the scenes. Now I do squares, so I can visually immediately say, okay, I know this is half a page, this is a quarter of a page, stuff like that. Then I'll do sometimes stuff that it's, indications about the same thing I used to do on paper, someone's hitting a light switch, notes about atmosphere, stuff like that, that I know are important for the writers to come across. Or if it's a question for the director, like, hey, here it says it's moonlight, but what do you mean by this? Or can we talk about it? Just a lot of questions. I do, at some point I was playing with the layers, so you could do like a layer of for each department. Then I kind of stopped doing this because the time basically wins. But the idea was to have a layer for questions, have a layer for electric, have a layer for camera, and just being able to share those, or just when you're in a meeting with someone, just have the notes without having to have technical notes on the side, or just even a layer for beats and story and shots, stuff like that. Same thing, I tend to put like everything on it, like scheduling, shot list from the director or from myself if I'm also directing. I'll do like floor plans, I'll do like sun path, where's the sun, location photos, Artemis pictures, everything. I don't do like mostly like stylistic or references, because for me this is more like a work document and not so much like inspiration document in a way. So I try to keep them separately, even though it might sound a little silly for some people. For me, it's more like a blueprint of what I'm gonna do, and then hopefully, if I did my job correctly, I don't even need to look at this when I'm shooting. Maybe just the day before to remember all my notes. Yeah, and that's kind of it. I also use it for one-liner, because I noticed someone put a question in the Q&A. I haven't played with the transfer notes in a way that I still think that it's 100% reliable for the type of notes that I do. but I've been using it more and more.
For the one-liner, you mean? The transfer
Yeah, for the
note
one-liner.
doesn't really work so well
Oh,
for
yeah.
the one-liner since it's built on more the script formatting than the.
Yeah, and that's basically the reason why I started doing scriptation, because I was doing like, PDF expert. I think what's one called margin notes. I tried them all. And basically the transfer notes was like, oh my God, this is the best thing in the world. Because I work in projects that we were getting revisions even after we shot them. You would go to shoot a scene, come back to your chair, and you had like revisions for the scene you shot. So you're like, wait. So, it's really great because they just get lost. They really get lost. And then sometimes you have stuff that's really important there that you really want to make sure you don't miss. I like the fact that it has a report also. I think it has a report of the differences from the original to the new one. Like this day is now night, or this scene is this dialogue scene is changed. So that's very useful too. But that's kind of about it. And then at some point, I know the whole idea of going paperless, but at some point also, as you and I, Jendra, spoke about this once, it's hard to be with an iPad when you're running around, if you're like shooting on a boat, on a helicopter, or like just running around. So sometimes I'll just print my notes in a small, whatever paper, and then I'll try to have it with me instead of having to have the iPad if you're not in the conditions to use it. And yeah, that's kind of what I do with it.
Cool. I'm going to say a little bit about what I do with it, and then we'll go to Rob. I do pretty similar to what Gonzalo was saying, where I mostly make my notes on it during prep and then don't really look at it by the time I'm shooting. I know the script, and it's more that the notes that I'm making while I'm prepping inform all the decisions, so that by the time that we're shooting, the decisions have mostly been made and are probably more just reflected on a shot list at that point versus my script document. But the way that I prep is the first time I read a script, I want to read it uninterrupted and just absorb myself in the story. I'm not thinking about how I'm going to do this. I don't know where it's going to go. You only get to read the script for the first time once, in terms of experiencing it like the viewer will, in terms of how does this make me feel? What am I thinking about as I read it? Where, is it suspenseful? Where do I think that this is going? How engaged am I, et cetera, et cetera. And I really just try and pay attention to the story and my feelings about the script the first time that I'm reading it, and I'm not thinking about execution or specifics in any way. And so then I'll read it a second time, and I like to read it twice before the interview, because I want to, now that I know where this is going, I can start to think about an arc. Like I really like to do some sort of visual arc for the film, along with whether it's a story arc or character arcs or tonal shifts or that kind of thing. And then I'll start to think as I'm reading it, how the scenes are fitting into the whole of the film. And that's when I start making notes. That's when I start doing highlighting, and obviously prepping for an interview. They very often might ask you if there's a challenging scene in the movie that might be like, shooting on a boat or has explosions or is working with a dog or something. They might ask your ideas like, oh, what would be your ideas for helping achieve this challenging scene? And so that's when I start making the kind of notes sort of, or I should say, I like to read the script twice prior to the interview so that I can think about the how on the second pass. And that's when I start making notes in the margins. I have a color coding system. I have, one color for lighting, one color for camera, one color for production concerns, one color for questions for the director, and one color for things related to tone, story, or mood. I'll show you when we get to the section where I do my show and tell, I'll talk a little bit more about inserting like storyboards and facing pages and things like that. But I keep it pretty basic. I love the stamps. Actually, there's a video on Scriptation's website that shows off the stamps tool and how to use it, featuring me. I was the person, I think the reason that is featuring me is it was like the right place, right time, that was a feature request that I made. I wasn't the first one to make it, but I said, you know, I keep having to write the same terms over and over again: Steadicam, handheld, POV, one, or, you know, I wish I could save those, you know, almost like tags to just be like paste these often used terms, and they're like, yeah, other people are asking for that too. We're creating something called stamps, and so we were in communication around the time it was ready to come out, and that's how I developed a relationship with Steve and got to be in that video. Rob, you talked a little bit about how you use scriptation. Before we, you know, once we're done talking about this phase, then we're going to get into the show and tell. But is there anything more that you wanted to say? Also about your prep process in general, you know, beyond scriptation, your philosophies on prep, how you approach your prep, etc.
Yeah, I'd like to. I mean, it's pretty much the same as everyone else. That we go through the first read is a read through to get a good overview of the film, and I read it the second time, and when I'm reading it the second time, I'm thinking of light and shade. Where is it dark? Where is it bright? Where is it flat? Where is it contrasty? And then I'll read it a third time, and I'll look at it in terms of lens structure, because I think one of the forgotten elements of cinematography these days is building a tapestry with the use of lenses. And it's sort of, you know, especially on TV, as we all know, is let's bang in for a close-up. And it's done with no regard for what focal lengths we're on, or you know, what depth of field we've got, or anything else. It's just, okay, let's bang in on 3 cameras and we're ready to go. And so one of the things I do is I go through and I make an enormous number of notes on the script, and structure lenses, and pick what lenses I think are going to work best for each scene, and then I'll discuss that with the director, and I'll say to him, you know, it feels to me that we can shoot this entire scene on 14mm in really close, and then this next scene we can be back on 135, or we might have a scene where we shoot I want to shoot 20mm and then go to 85 for the close-ups, and have the juxtaposition of a big, wide, in close, great depth of field, and then banging into shallow depth of field and very narrow field of view. So I'm looking at the script that way, and I'm making all those notes as I go along. And then I'll talk with the director, and hopefully he's got a similar viewpoint to me. And if he hasn't, then I just beat him up until he has. But no, and then we'll go through it and work that out. And generally, the directors will have sent me their beat sheets and some diagrams and some photographs and stuff like that. So I've got a pretty good idea of where we're going. And I'll have collected a whole lot of photographs, and all that goes into scriptation as well. But one of the things I've found is I started using layers, and layers I got really confused using layers, because I'd forget, oh, hang on, I've got another layer here. What's on that? You know, and so I stopped using it, and I just add pages into scriptation. But as I'll show you later on, I also use documents, so they're side by side. And in documents, I put the director's beat sheet. I put the shot lists. I put location shots. I put some of the diagrams that I do that are going to mean that my script is too cluttered. I put videos. I do frame grabs every day when I'm shooting, and they'll either go into scriptation or into a folder on documents. I have the call sheet there with all my marks on the call sheet, and I have the one-liner in documents as well. So they're running side by side, and that allows me to keep the script fully creative, and all the organizational stuff in the documents folder on the side. And I can just click back and forth. And the other thing is, with documents, you can write on that as well. So I can be making notes in scriptation and making notes in documents. But
This is this Google Documents, you mean? The Google Docs?
No, the iPad app. Yeah, the Mac app. But yeah, after I've got all those notes done, then when we get to shooting, I go through and I'll do frame grabs and drop that into Scriptation, and I make notes on exposures and where we're going to be doing green screen and where we're going to have special effects, and where I'm doing, especially on Creepshow, where we're doing color changes and how long the color changes are going to be, and all that stuff's fed into the script. And I make all the notes because quite often a lot of our stuff will be handed over to second unit or an insert unit, and that way I can just feed that straight over to them. They've got all my notes with all the details there, and everything matches and works really well. So yeah, no, it's yeah, a lot of prep. Use all the colors. Same thing. We daytime, early morning, magic hour, and I also make have colors for green screen, blue screen, visual effects, special effects, makeup, all that stuff. So I know where all the stuff's coming in, and that's particularly important in something like Creepshow, where we've, you know, I mean, on that show we're shooting a half-hour episode every 3 days. So yeah, you're going like crazy. You haven't got much time to think of anything, so you've got to do pretty thorough prep.
For sure. I want to talk a little bit about layers, something that everyone has sort of mentioned that they don't really use. And there's actually a question in the Q&A about layers. I was actually going to bring it up anyway. I found that layers seems to be something that directors like a lot. So the way that the layers work is you can assign different layers to your notes, and then you can toggle different layers on and off. So you can have your script and have all of your layers visible, or something that, you know, which I think a lot of DPs that I've talked to, it's like I tried it at the beginning. It seemed like it was going to be useful to me, but then I would be on a certain layer because I switched to it, and then I would forget to switch back, and then I would keep making notes, and then my stuff would be on the wrong layer, and I just decided I'm just going to keep everything on the same layer. But directors have so much information coming at them, especially in TV, from different areas that they, a lot of people I've talked to, like they're, like there's a webinar, actually I'll get back to that later. There's a webinar that has been pre-recorded with directors that I'll tell you how to find that later. That's also pretty useful. But talking about layers, that a lot of them will make from their tone meeting, they'll make their tone notes in a layer, so that they just have that layer as the meeting is happening. They can be like, okay, these are the notes that came from the showrunner, that came from the producing director, like in this meeting. These are, in a way, the most important thing that's going to inform the whole rest of their prep. Or they might put acting notes on a layer, so that when they're on set, they don't want someone looking over their shoulder and seeing something that might be very sensitive or private about judging an actor's performance or whatnot. So they want to be able to hide that when they're showing their notes to other people. And then a lot of times they want to be able to export a layer so they can share their notes with their cinematographer. So they've kept all of their cinematography notes on a layer. Then they can just share that layer to their DP, and their DP can get the notes from the layer. So Steve, did you want to say something else about layers?
Yeah, so we do have a video that we can show you, a very quick, you know, how to layer video that we can show. And I want to say that, because I know, I can't remember who I was talking to about layers, but it was kind of an evolving tool where we made it, like Jendra said. I mean, really, we made it because there was a director that said, I don't want the actor seeing some of my notes that I write, so can we separate them? So that was sort of the origin of layers. And then people started using it, and we added it, you know, like there are a lot of early adopters to the new tech that we have. And it's one of those things where it just started moving really fast. And it's like, okay, we got to make it better. We have to add this feature and that feature. So something that we had added more recently, and I don't know if anyone on the panel has tried, but you can view multiple layers at one time. So you could show and hide layers. So previously you had to switch between one and the other, but now you can show and hide all of them. Your active one is your active one that you could see. And then in the recent 4.0 update, which came out maybe 2 months ago, we now have the ability to transfer all of your layers into one draft at the same time. So I'm going to throw it to Alex, who is going to throw up the layers video, so we can kind of show you a little bit about how that works.
Okay, so it's saying our video exceeds the resolution allowed for Zoom. You can hold on. I can try our YouTube channel. I can screen share there.
While I get that prep, there was something else I was going to say about layers. If you want to let me know when you're ready, Alex. I've talked to a lot of people like myself who tried using layers early on and then just decided it didn't work for them. And they're like, oh yeah, I don't use it. That actually haven't learned that in the, is it the 4.0 release, Steve or Alex, that is what you were just talking about?
Yeah, the 4.0 release, we added multi-layer transfer. So now when you transfer into the next draft, you can actually see all of your layers and you can select all and then move them all over.
And being able to toggle on and off multiple layers instead of you can only have one active layer at once.
Exactly. Yeah, you can do that as well.
So a lot of people who tried layers and found things about it that didn't work for them. A lot of, back to the evolution of the app by the developers, as people are like, oh, this doesn't work for me about it, they've actually changed how layers work. So those of you who've been using Scriptation for a while might want to go back and have another look at the improved functionality of layers, because you actually might find that you like it now, whereas before it wasn't you didn't think it worked for you. How you doing, Alex, on that video?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I have it. Here we go.
Awesome.
With layers, your entire workflow lives in 3 dimensions. Notes can be separated into layers that you create, perhaps sorted by department or meetings. Toggling between notes layers is easy, as your active layer is shown with the pencil icon. Using the Show All function, you can easily view all of your notes and use the toggle switches to turn on or off layers, perhaps hiding notes that you don't want others to see. Individual layers can be exported and shared with your team through dozens of in-app integrations, as well as transferred with the Note Transfer feature, so that when you get that new script, all of your annotations move forward into the new draft. Try Scriptation for free in the App Store.
Awesome. So that's it for about now for layers. I would love to move on to the portion of the day when we get to show off our screen sharing on our iPad apps. I'm going to start, since I think we're going to build in order of complexity in terms of degree of things that we have ready to show off. So I'm going to share my screen and show you my iPad with my Scriptation open. Is that working? Ah, here we go. Do you see my iPad screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's my color coding legend that I usually cut and paste onto my my title page. I kind of don't need it anymore because I use it all the time and I've remembered which colors are which, but I built one at the beginning when I was figuring out my system. And it's actually something that's, I kept it as a saved annotation, which is like when you make a stamp or another another saved annotation. You can pick, your thing, and I just cut and paste this. And I have these individual things grouped into a layer. I can ungroup them, and then they become more individual things that I can edit, or I can go back. I forgot. Oh, here's how you group them is on the, I think it's over here in the selection tool, is how you can, yeah. Selection tool is how you select several things at once and can make them into a group. And I don't need this because I already have one on here. So I'm going to show you some pages from a film that I'm prepping right now. Is a short film. I can turn my iPad sideways and get facing pages and see two things at once. So here's a scene where I was just scouting this week, and I took some screenshots using the Sun Scout app, so I could remember what the sun was going to do, and I put those into a facing page. Here's some of my notes. These are stamps, these are stamps that I created that I can use all over again for handheld inserts. And then one of the things I like to do when I'm prepping is to create photo storyboards. So on my director's scouts, either with the AD or the director's assistant, or in this case, with COVID, it was just me and the director. So here's the director that I'm currently working with, Angela Garcia Combs. We lined up, we went to visited the location, talked through some proposed blocking and how we were going to use the space and which directions we wanted to look, et cetera, and lined up our shots just to remember some of the decisions that we discussed while we were scouting. So I created some facing pages. Actually, this is not a facing page. This was a blue page, so it had a lot of empty space at the bottom. So I just repurposed that. But then here is a facing page and some notes that mean things to me. Put some arrows in there for camera movement, or in this case, this is a dolly shot. So I wanted to show, it starts this way and then it leads to this. Here's where the dolly track goes. The move is going in. So that's, and this here is a boom up. We start on the pool, and then as she is climbing the stairs, we boom up to show off the upper level patio at this beautiful Hollywood Hills pool house. So here's just, some basic notes. That's why we started with me, because it's pretty basic compared to some of the other scripts you're going to see today that put this one to shame. But you don't have to go crazy. You can use it however you want. So I've got some written notes in here. I've got some highlighting. I've got some stamps, and that's about it. That's just me collecting my thoughts as I read my scripts. And I'm going to stop sharing, and let's see some of Byron's script notes.
Okay. Let me get this going. Okay. So for me, I like to use it, as I said, as a digital binder. So I connect everything through Dropbox, and there's a function where you can have a Dropbox folder, and you can actually call it scriptation. You can call it anything you want. It can be as deep as 3 or 4 levels in whatever folders you normally use, or it could just be a top layer Dropbox. So I like to put my folders, as you can see here, whether it's call sheet for, I'll put every call sheet every day in there. Camera, I put the camera list. So if I ever have a question about, what kind of gear was I, have this day, or, especially if there's there's a main package and then there's additional day packages. I put as you can see, there's a little bit of everything. I'll put visual effects notes. I put the crew list. I have pictures of LUTs and things that I use. So oftentimes I'll have, multiple things open. So for instance, this is a script from a movie I did for the Into the Dark on Hulu for Blumhouse called Culture Shock. And as Jendra said, I fell in love with these stamps. They're really cool. And one thing you can do is you can pre-build them. I saw a question in there. You can build them and then use them for every different script, every script you have in there. And if you're working on multiple projects at the same time, you just open another script. You can have, a commercial script, you can have a feature film, you can have 2 feature films and use the same stamps. So it should allow me to show you, there's the actual stamp function where it has all these different things that are already in there, whether it's the X, the check, the void, all that. But then you can go in and make yourself a custom stamp and type in whatever you want. I mean, this isn't really much of a demo, so I won't bore you with that, but I will show you my stamps where I've built in a bunch of them that I just grabbed from. And whenever you make a stamp, the size that you have that stamp when you save it will go in there. So I would say that you make a stamp, resize it to how you like that size, and then save it in here. And, I also put my little lines that I have in here. I put text boxes, sometimes, just really quick things, but just stuff that I can grab really quick.
That's smart, just having a box ready to go. So you don't have to go select and create a new box.
Yeah, it's just because I use boxes from time to time just to, for certain parts of the scene that are broken out, if something special's happening. And I love my little lines that I put between scenes. And so I use that so it's always the same size and it's just easy to do. So, just to give you an idea, these are some of my notes. I don't have a specific color coding, which I think Jendra has inspired me to be better at color coding. I generally just use red to write notes so that it pops out to me. And I like to use the, like I said, use the stamps, and I'll put little lines, whether it's like a Steadicam shot and how long it's going to carry. And for instance, here I use this box because I like the idea that, something specific's happening. I want to change the style a little bit, go from Steadicam to handheld. And so, yeah, I just put all kinds of little notes in there. And, sometimes these are notes like, for instance, I say sharp shutter over here and I have a question mark, and that's just because I haven't talked with the director yet. And I'm like, oh yeah, maybe that's a good idea. So I'll put a question mark so I remember to ask them.
I have a trick. Because
yes.
I put questions for directors in the script all the time.
Yeah.
And then when they've been answered, I use the check mark stamp.
That's a great idea. I like that.
So then I know, like, okay, this one's been dealt with already, but I don't want to erase the note because but I don't want to see it again and think that it's a live question. So yeah, I use the check mark stamp next to the questions once I've gotten an answer from them.
That's awesome. I'm going to do that. And I have my little key takeaway stamps. I like for each section or each page or each, if there's something really important that I need to remember or it's going to be focused on, or I think it's an important part of the script, because for a lot of us that aren't doing huge budget movies, I do independent movies. I like to kind of know what my key takeaway is so that if we're running out of time and we have 10 minutes to shoot the scene at the end of the day, I want to know the most important thing that I need to help the director grab. So those are important to me.
I like that.
And so
I'm stealing that. I'm stealing key takeaway.
I'm just kind of scrolling through. There's, it's very much like Jendra did. I don't want to waste too much time because I know we're going to get more complicated. And I've seen Rob's pages and they're unbelievable. So, just to give you an idea, if it's a crane, if it's a, I put in there that I want 2 cameras, possibly cross coverage, because I know I have a lot of pages to shoot that day. There's also, little bits here where I'll put these little boxes around it because I know it's important. I want my eye to go to it. A couple other real quick things for you is, we talked about the schedule. I just kind of mocked this up real quick, but I will, I'll make these so that I can send it to the, AD. So for instance, I want a crane this day. I want blue, I know I need blue screen. So that reminds me maybe to tell the grips to make sure there's a blue screen on the truck or the size I want, special effects so they can put it in. So we know we have a special effects person and we have atmosphere and, moving stuff around. So I like doing it. As Gonzalo said, it doesn't transfer perfectly But it's really great to be able to make notes and to be able to just send it as a PDF, which you can easily do by going up to, the share section. It has embed annotations. You hit share, and you can basically text or email it to the AD or the director or anybody you want. I've also taken, just to give you an idea, bits of the script. For instance, my last movie had a bunch of lighting cues. So I went through and put in where all the lighting cues are and where the color changes were, and I was able to send that to the dimmer board operator. So there's a lot of really great functions that you can do and be able to share it with other key crew. And then, like Rob said, he has a system, but I like to keep my references for a movie in a page here. So if I'm on a scene, I may want to show the gaffer, like, hey, I really like the light here, or I really like, the darkness of this, and I have it readily available to me. And then the last thing that I'll show you is just something that I do, and I probably should integrate it into Scriptation more, and I think I will at some point, but I just build my my notes also into Keynote. I use programs like Previs Pro, or in this case, Shot Designer, and I have all my notes, and I have some of my shot lists that I do with the director, and sometimes even like key images for a scene. And so, I'll mark those up. And sometimes there are even things like this where the director just drew them out and I just took a picture of it. And then as we're going through, I just, X them off or put a little line through it as we're shooting. So, Scriptation can be used for a ton of different things on top of just your script. And so I definitely urge everybody to try to use it as much as you can as a binder or whatever you can.
I started using it for any time I need to draw or write on a PDF. Like I used it this morning to sign I have read and received the COVID compliance protocols for my production. And like I had to do a signature, and in the past it'd be like, oh, I don't have a printer, or you have to go into like, Adobe, Acrobat signature creation thing or something. Yesterday, I used it to draw the flight path for the drone map on a screenshot from Google Maps. So anything with PDFs that I need to write or draw on them, I pretty much use Scriptation for that, not just scripts, just because I know it well and I'm used to all the tools and functionality in there.
During COVID, I had my kids use it for their online schooling. It was great.
Awesome. Thanks, Byron. Gonzalo, you're next.
Unmute first. Yeah.
Oh, no, I saw in the chat, someone just asked, what was the other program besides Shot Designer that you just mentioned, Byron?
Oh, I mentioned Previs Pro, which is an amazing program on the iPad where you can create all your own storyboards in 3D. I highly recommend anybody who has any desire to, be able to mess around with storyboards to be able to download this app. It's unbelievable. Cool. Not as cool as Scriptation, but second coolest app out there.
You can use both. So for me, basically, let me show you. 1 second. Okay. Share screen. Optimized, no sound. Okay, I think, is that working?
Yep, we can see it.
Cool. So yeah, this is from a project that I did last year. I was directing this, but at the same time, it's the same way I do it for shooting, so it doesn't really change. There's just I had a little more prep, so that's why I'm not showing this. But I just like floor plans of the location. This is our department floor plans that I get. The director's package, which I also get when I'm shooting. Always ask the guys to send me, our department, anything that they have from our department, like floor plans, everything. And then now I can import into this, make some drawings and stuff. This is my little squares that I do for just showing that the length of the scene. I noticed that Byron did them also with lines. That's what I used to do it, but I kind of like the squares a little better. And then the color code that I do, normally exterior day, depends. Sometimes I do red or yellow, but that's where I know immediately what's going on. And then just notes, here I have exterior day and I have it as red because I think it was kind of very exposed. So I knew I might need to have some like fly swatter or something like that. or just talk about what time of day we would need to shoot this. Then just small notes for me, production notes. Then same thing here, I have a little mini shot list I took a picture of instead of drawing it there. So a little note here. Question, 20 scene, just a question for production. Is this the same place? Blah, blah, blah. Just pictures, Artemis. This is from a different project, but I put it there just for purpose. Same thing, I have here in blue just a little bit of a note, action note that I wanted to put there. Again, like floor plans, schedule, all kinds of things that I can have a quick glance to see what's my day gonna be, all of those things, right? And I have another project here. This is from Fargo, which I ended up putting the shot list here. You see that see the little square, that's the shot list from the director. And then I just literally copy pasted into each scene. So here's scene 3, you have this thing. Then I kind of add pushing, close up, just notes like that. Same thing, my color coded exterior day, have it red. I cross the scenes as we're shooting them just to kind of relief. I finish the scene, I just cross it. So when I'm reading the script again, I know what's before, what's after, all of those things. Same thing, more shot list here and there, more comments. That's a long scene. So I can immediately see this as a 4-page scene, 4.5-page scene, instead of having to kind of go to the one line. I can just immediately see it. That's how we do the little squares. Here I have a little note saying laughs in slow motion. So I just kind of thought that would be important. Same thing down here, there's a little shot list. And then, the shot list, the way that we ended up working with it wasn't necessarily, the shots weren't necessarily like that, but at least you get an idea of how much time the director wanted to spend on this and how much time we had. So if I saw that we have for this 5.5-page scene, we had all this stuff, okay, that looks realistic. But then I just have to make sure that we have enough time when we look at the schedule and all of those things. Let me see, I have another one here. This is another example of how I do the color coding. This is all dusk. So I'm just put purple there. So I know if I'm gonna be shooting those, I'm not gonna have time because it's gonna be magic hour. So I know immediately those, I need to kind of red flag to the ADs and say, if this is really dusk, then we need to have time to shoot them. Then just kind of little notes here and there. I have night here, exterior night as green, because that way I know exterior night, I probably have to light it. Interior day, interior night, I keep as blue, so that way I know I can tent probably, or I can just, do it not necessarily in the time that it needs to be. So this is just squares with everything. I put here reference Goonies, blinds. I don't even know what that says, but I just thought that I get on my mind when I'm just writing it down to know here, a little note saying heist, just for the tone, stuff like that. And then I wanted to show what I do with one-liners too, which is, this is the way I do it. This is from a project that was never made because of COVID. But at the same time, I had this because I had enough time to prep. So same thing, I color code day, night, day, now. So I just from the, a little glimpse, I know this first day is all day. So I know it's daylight dependent, etc. Handheld, steady, B cam studio, A and B studio mode. So I kind of have all those things. Here I have this 3 cameras. Same thing, the interior mixed with night, company move. So I kind of immediately, without having to think too much, visually, I know what a day looks like, Same thing here, tent windows. Well, it says tent instead of tent, but that's okay. Same thing, I can show this to the gaffer and say, okay, can we tent this place? Those type of logistical things that we want to change. I'm I can't really tent this. Can we change it from night to night? In this case, this location we couldn't tent, so we had to do night for night. So on locations and so on. But it's well, why are we going from day to night here? Immediately you can see this is day to night today. I'm why is that happening? So I talk to the ADs and say, okay, why is this happening? And then you can say, okay, well, there's makeup involved or there's an actor availability. Okay, great. But then same thing here. Little note here, special equipment, swing tilt, crane, low angle prism, A7 body mount, stuff like that. Yeah, and then the same. And this is same thing I have here, just techno, 30 stabilized head, A on crane, B and C on studio mode. These are just things that I plan because sometimes when you're like on the day, you don't have time to, you don't have time to think about those things. So I know I can tell my AC, you go on the A camera, you guys go on the crane, B camera does this, C camera stays on handheld. Any special equipment, in this case, a Ronin that we wanted to have on that case, 40 frames a second, just stuff for me to not forget, and then I'll put these notes also on.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So while you're talking, I actually had an idea about something that I use a lot that when I showed off my script, I didn't really show it. And I see that you use it too. So while we're looking at your script, these stars, I want to talk about that function because it's something that I actually use a lot. So it's a sticky note. And can you go ahead and click on one of your little stars there? So when I have something to say that is like longer, like more text than I necessarily have space to write it, you can put a sticky note and you can change the color, right? And you can make the symbol be whatever. So it doesn't have to be a star, right? You could have it be an arrow. So that's a very handy function as well. So instead of just having,
yeah, exactly. I do the questions too, like this, sometimes. And it's just so that on that, like you're saying, the check mark is kind of a nice idea because then someone answered that question, right? Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah, so that's how I use it.
Come from? Where do you find that?
Oh, the stars. I think you go here, annotate. Here you see this.
Oh, right.
And then you press, then you click on it.
It looks like a sticky note, like a little text box.
There.
That thing.
Yeah.
Rob doesn't know how to do something.
I know what's going on. Oh, I'm so happy. I taught him how to do something.
Yeah, that's good. I like the boxes around each scene too. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I realized that it looks a little silly because you can, but I found that it just immediately I know how long is this scene, and you just go fast. I'm like, this is a long scene, and then you know immediately because you don't have the color on top. And that really makes me know exactly, even if you're shooting, just as a glimpse, I know this is half on the page here,
Yeah,
so I like it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think everyone's notes look a little silly if you don't have them talk you through it.
Yeah.
When I look at Rob's script, I'm like, oh my God, what the hell am I looking at? I'm scared,
I know. But and then the same thing like you were saying, Jendra, earlier, is I have just like some pads, stuff like this, notes, night, day, floor plans. Even though these are from a different location, I just put them there for this seminar's purpose. Yeah, and I think that's it for me. I mean, I don't think I have anything else to.
We have a few questions.
That's sort of the way I use it.
There's a few questions that have come in for you, Gonzalo. Someone was asking when you make your boxes, do you build a new box each time, or did you make a template like Byron did in your saved annotations, or how do you do those?
Yeah, I used to do them manually, but it takes a while. So I ended up doing on the stamps, not on this one, but I do end up doing on the stamps. You just copy, you say I want this, so I just save it, and then I know next time I want to put another square. Well, not this one, but I know if I want to do a square, I just go to stamps, and the square will be there somewhere. Not in this. Well,
the one underneath. It's the one underneath the stamps, the one that has the lines.
Oh yeah, you're right. There, so I have there my squares. That's a saved square, so I know I have to put it there. I have to go to this side here. Same thing. Go here, and then I just adjust the length, and I have one for day, one for night, etc. And then the width is already there, so I just have to do the length. In theory, I could do something that has like one for 8 of a page, blah blah blah. But in reality, you end up having to tweak it anyway. Because for me, I like it to be kind of lined up between there, so I know exactly when the scene starts and ends,
And when you were showing, you had like little pasted shot list notes that you got from the director. Are those like photo images that you saved into your photo library, or how did you get those into your script?
I think I just pasted them on screenshot. I like did a little screenshot, and then I just pasted it directly, you know? So I went like this and just pressed, sorry, not this, paste, insert, and then from photo library, you can just insert that screenshot. Same thing the way I did with just regular pictures from Artemis or Sunpath or those things, you know?
Mhm.
Just do, and then you can move it here and there. You can make it small, you know, you can put it on one side.
And
Very
your
useful.
I'm sorry.
Sorry?
No, I was going to
No.
ask another question. I thought you were done, but please go on.
No, I'm done, yeah, I'm done.
You're done. All your notes on the one-liner, do you share those with the crew, or how do you use those?
I do. I mean, sometimes I'll just tell the ADs because I don't want to kind of overwhelm them with another document, or sometimes they, you know, but I'll just talk. I know I have to talk to people about it. So it's more of a note for me to say, I need to talk about this. So I know I'll have to talk to I should probably do colors like you say. So that way I knew which one's a color. Like, you know, camera would be red, this, and then, but from here, I know my special equipment list will go to the AD, will go to the first cam assistants and all of those. I don't really share this as it is because I don't know if they will get it, but I think it is, I should do it maybe because I'm sure they will appreciate it.
I have a question. The schedule that was in your script in the other side, and it was like sideways. It was all sideways. How do you do that? Do you lock the iPad and then turn it and make it bigger? Like, how do you manage? I was just curious.
I think you have an option there when you insert something. Let me go. I think.
Or do you just turn it around? Because it's interesting, because I build everything straight up and down. I don't really turn my iPad sideways that much, but you seem like you do both, and then you just zoom in and grab it. It's really interesting how you manage it.
Yeah, I think you can once you have your you can insert the picture here. You can just grab it and rotate it. There's some sort of function there. I don't have any pictures on this one, sorry.
But that's how you do it. You have that schedule in there at some point.
Yeah, so if you have this is a picture. There's a way of doing it here. That I think when you paste it, there's a line here that appears that you can rotate it. Cool. I don't know how to do it on this one. I'm sure Steven knows. But once you place it, there's a little one of these guides that appear here. One of the little dots has a line on it, and then just rotate it sideways. Yeah, and there's literally a screenshot from a one-liner that I do, and then I just crop it when I'm on my phone or on my, what do you call it, on the iPad.
Cool.
But I think that's it for me. I'll stop sharing now.
Rob.
Hello.
And the icing on the cake. I want to see this.
Everyone's excited for Rob's legendary.
I know. I saw like 2 pages. And I was like, wow.
Hang on. Let me pull it up here. Did it come up?
Yep.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Work of art.
Yeah. As Jendra said, you know, a lot of the time it doesn't have to make sense to anyone as long as it makes sense to you.
Exactly.
But I'll just go through this is the script for a feature. And as you can see, I put a ton of notes in there. One of the things I'll say about it is it's really a collection of thoughts, and it sort of comes up to me like flashcards. So I can go to any scene and I don't really have to read everything on the scene or go through it in detail, but because I've been through it so many times that I know exactly what I'm going to be doing in each particular spot, and you know, using the same sort of tools. Like here's I do my own storyboards, and we go out on Location Scout. I'll take location shots on roughly the lens focal length we're going to be using, and then using what's the name of that damn app? Storyboard Artist 7. I can drop these figures in, and I can blur them, and I can blur the background, and then the director and I can sit down and talk about it. And it's sort of like almost like we're looking at the actual shots that we're going to do, so you get a better idea of exactly how the scene's going to go. And then, you know, as you can see, this is all pages that I've dropped into the script.
Look at that.
And then,
It's amazing.
then all my notes on each scene, location photographs. Again, you know, little diagrams when the director and I will be talking through, maybe on a location scale. I'll just do a quick diagram so I know what he's after.
Quick question. Do you draw on this app, or do you import your drawings? Because I sometimes do like Procreate, or I think it's called Concept, and then I'll import.
Yeah, some of the blocking diagrams, actually, I'll just go to one here. What's up? Like this one here. I did that outside the program, then I just imported it. So how's it coming up? Oh, hang on, there it is. Yeah, so that one, I did that outside the program, and I did that in Autodesk.
On the SketchUp or something.
Sketchbook, yeah. And then for some of them I'll do it like that. With others I just do them straight in Scriptation, and just do them on the pages that I've imported. I think I'm a little bit behind.
Your audio is so maybe you had a connection issue.
Yeah, I think I've there's a lot was happening every time I'd send stuff to Steve. I'd overwhelm his system because of all the notes I had.
Have you broken Scriptation?
I think I might have. Is it still working? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, but I'm also hearing from you, which I haven't heard before.
Yeah, it's a little echoey.
Oh, that's weird. I wonder why.
You broke Scriptation, that's why.
Yeah, might have too.
It's possible that the audio is playing from the iPad, maybe, or I don't know, maybe not.
No, I've got the audio turned off.
Well, as long as we're not talking at the same time as you.
Yeah.
Actually, it went away, and your crackling went away. So maybe it's a bandwidth straightened itself out.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Always blame Scriptation, guys.
No,
Yeah.
No, but I will say, I'm okay. But I will say, and I was telling Rob this before. So, you know, when we released Scriptation, we had so many early adopters. You know, I don't know how early Rob was, but I know I spoke to Byron a while ago, and people were using the features in ways that we didn't think they would use it, and they were using it to the max and breaking some of the stuff. So that's how I got to know some of our users, because they would send us use cases that were so complex. I mean, just look at what Rob is showing on the screen. So he has this script. We're up to 140 something pages that I could even see. And he wants to take this and then transfer notes from one draft to the next. So that is very complex for us to do. So, you know, I was telling Rob that, like, we used, you know, one of his scripts as the, if we could transfer this script, then we figured it out for every other user imaginable. So yeah, I would say DPs and directors, what they do, DPs a little more than directors, but what they do is so complex. And we've had to, they've moved faster than we've been able to develop. So, but now we've I haven't heard from Rob in a while, which is a good sign. So we've caught up to what Rob is capable of. So we'll see when the next person breaks scriptation.
Yeah, and going back to the doing lighting cues. I mean, this was the end of this film. We had a whole series of lighting cues that had to come through, and so I could mark all the lighting cues in there and show them to the gaffer, and everyone got a copy of this, and so they all knew where the cues had to come in, and how fast they had to be, and where they had to end up on the dimmer board, and all that sort of stuff. But I'll show you something else, which is the way that I use it the most, and that is I bring documents up, and then I can change the size of the documents screen, but then I can come in here and I can bring up storyboards that the director's given me in the side panel, and I can make it bigger if I want to, or make it smaller. I can go to bring up schedules, so bring up the one-liner, and then I can bring it up and down, or you can also come up here and write on the one-liner separately to writing in scriptation. And the thing that Jendra was fascinated with was videos, and so I can pull videos up in documents, and then if I've got to do something
brilliant Sumerian craftsmanship. The stitching and the binding is magnificent. This is really exciting.
So you can run videos, and if you've got to do some matching, matching lenses, matching lighting, you can bring them up, and it's not exact, being on the iPad, but it's pretty damn close. So it gives you an enormous amount of flexibility, and I can also bring up any still photographs that we've done on there, like reference photographs.
Rob, can you talk? We've gotten a few questions. Can you say more about what this Documents app is? Like, how does it work? It's not like you have Dropbox open or something right now.
I stopped using Dropbox because I couldn't get. We couldn't always have Wi-Fi, and so I was unable to get a lot of the Dropbox stuff. And I did start putting it, making a lot of the files offline, but I just found it was easier to drop everything into Documents because I always had it with me, and then I could work on scriptation, I could work on Documents, and Documents is just if you look down the bottom of the screen there, you can see the big D, and it's an app that I think it's on your iPad. Everyone has it on their iPad.
It's a Readle app, I think. They make Spark and all that. You can download it.
Oh, it's a download, yeah.
Yeah.
And so does it just let you put whatever you want in there so that you can just have it at the ready, like stored locally on your iPad, and you can just quickly find whatever you need that you've put in there? Is that how it works?
Yeah, correct. It's just like a giant filing cabinet. So if I go back here, back to my files, then you can see the list of all the files that I've got in Documents. And so, I've got call sheets. I threw this together for today. This isn't the real folder, because a lot of the actual folder that I'm working on at the moment has a lot of Creepshow stuff in it that I didn't want to bring up. But
So anything that you are going to want to view in parallel with your scriptation, that it doesn't make sense to embed within your actual script, you put it in this document so that you can look at them next to each other. Is that how you use it?
Correct. Yeah. So I can, like I said, I can pull up the call sheet and have the call sheet there with my notes on it. I can pull up. Quite often, I'll get images from, well, let's go up here. I think I can go up to this one. Like from the art department, how they're going to plan out a cemetery scene that we shot on the studio. So I can pull that up and discuss that with the art department, or storyboards that have come in from storyboard artists. So I can put anything I want in there, and I can make it as big or as small as I like. But it leaves me free to just use Scriptation purely for all the creative stuff. Mm-hmm. And then all the organizational stuff I can leave on documents. And it works great. And I always use it in landscape mode because it gives me a little bit more real estate. But it works fantastically well.
And how are you getting the split screen to have documents open and Scriptation open like on your iPad like that?
I'll show you. You go down to the bottom of the screen and you just slowly roll up with your finger, and you roll up that bottom menu bar, and then you select the one you want and drag it up and put it on the side and let it go.
Whoa, I didn't know you could do that.
Oh, magic. It's magic.
Yeah, I use that too. Sometimes I'll have like on the left side, I'll have the one-liner or the call sheet, and on the right side I'll have the script. So I know, okay, this scene, how long is this day? So you can start looking at both things at the same time. Yeah, it would be ideal if you could have 2 instances of Scriptation doing that, but I don't know. That's probably not physically possible. Look at Steven shaking.
Yeah, no.
I know, but I mean, I thought about it. I was going to send a request at some point, but I know it's probably not possible because of Mac's limitations.
It might be possible. I mean, put it this way: it is possible. We are scared of what could happen with it, especially with syncing and things like that. Like, because we have to sync to Dropbox, Google Drive, iCloud, all that stuff. So we worry a little bit about 2 Scriptations open and maybe the document open in 2 places. So
the thing with it is that Documents is a fantastic app, and it works really well in conjunction with Scriptation. So you almost wouldn't need to have both open.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
But the other thing is it'll play video. So you can drop videos into it.
Does it have a size limit, or like number of documents you can put in there, or the size of the documents?
I don't think so. I haven't run out of memory yet.
Okay.
I don't think there's any size limit other than what your iPad will hold.
And does it sync with your computers? Like, does it sync across the documents? Will it sync across to your iPhone and your desktop and things like that?
Correct. Yeah, I've got it syncing through iCloud, so everything that I put on here will appear on all the other platforms.
So it's all backed up in the cloud? Correct. Yeah. Awesome. And can you show us again? People are asking who missed it, how you do that split screen thing, how you get the second app open and then both showing on the screen at the same time?
Sure. So let me just go to there. So you just go down to the bottom of your iPad screen and just slowly roll your finger up, and the menu bar appears. And then you select Documents, you just press it and then drag it up onto the screen and put it over the side, and it goes.
Whoa, I just did it along with you on my iPad. It's like, wow.
Yeah, and I just want to add with the split screening. So that's a thing that a developer has to build into the app. So if you have a good developer, you could be able to split screen. So Documents is able to split screen, Scriptation is able to split screen. But if there's another app that just doesn't have it, then you won't be able to do it with that app that doesn't have it and any other app. Just so happens that both Scriptation and Documents can split screen.
Yeah, that's true. Some I forget what I was trying to use in the beginning, and some of the apps, definitely will not work well, not split screen, but documents can. So, and the big thing for me was, as Steve knows, I was always on his case about adding video because, I wanted to be able to drop video clips in because I've got, on my cart setup, I run, I've also got DaVinci Resolve there so that I can do very quick grades, get the assistants will feed me a log C feed from the camera. I can do a quick grab and then do a quick color grade LUT that I can send off to the lab if there's something really special I want to do. And I like to save those and be able to play them. And I couldn't do it in Scriptation, but I can do it in documents.
Yeah, I will say a quick note because this was actually just brought up on a Clubhouse that Jendra and I were on yesterday about video, putting a video in a PDF. So other than file size, which is definitely a concern, if you have a couple of videos, then the PDF itself could get huge. Other than file size, you can't put video in any PDF currently. If you use Adobe, there's no insert video option. However, we are looking into linking to a video to make it a little easy. So basically what Rob has done, essentially, where a video can pop up really easily, that's what we would do. You'd link a section, you'd link text. Currently, you can actually link to a YouTube video right now or any web page. But what we're looking into is linking it and a video basically opening on some sort of URL or maybe in the photos library or some way like that. But that is a bit down the road, but we are investigating.
Awesome. We got a few more questions for Rob. So before you showed us what was in documents and we got all obsessed with your split screen workflow there, we were already quite impressed with the amount of imagery you had going on in the script itself. Yep. And people are asking how you fit all that in there. Is that all just facing pages that you're inserting and then putting different kinds of content in there?
Yeah, so that's a separate page, and this one I did in Sketchbook and then dropped it in. That's a separate page. Then back to the script. This is another page that I did all the storyboards on, and I did that all separately.
What app were you using to create those storyboards?
Sketchbook Pro. Oh, the storyboards are in Storyboard Artist 7.
Storyboard Artist 7, did you say?
I think there's one on, there's an app you can use on the iPhone called Quick Sketch or something like that. I only used that once, and then I discovered the Big Brother, and so I used that. But it's Storyboard Artist 7 is the name of the program. Actually, I think I've got it on here.
And what is your color coding logic? What do the different colors mean?
Well, on here the colors mean nothing. Yeah, on here it's like, oh, what color will I use for that? Hang on, let's see. I haven't used blue for a while. Let's use blue. Really, I'm just highlighting beat points in the script for myself, just in case I've got to do, I want to make lighting changes, because I do a lot of adjustments to the lighting during a scene as well. Mm-hmm. So that's just for me, so that it doesn't really mean anything.
Okay.
It means something to me, but it won't mean anything. Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Gotcha. Someone was commenting about how your penmanship, it just looks like you're writing right on paper. Like you're making notes as if you're writing on paper. Like, is that how it seems to you? Or do you have any comments about that?
Oh yeah, well, the new this new Apple Pen is fantastic, and I've used every pen that's ever been devised, and this one really does feel like it's got the weight and it's got the amount of drag that you would normally get when you write on paper. So it's not quite as much drag as on paper, but I find it fantastic to write with. Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of people were asking about using the Apple Pencil and do you really need to buy one for scriptation? And personally, I was using scriptation for quite a while without an Apple Pencil. I was just using my fingers and I would just insert a text tool and I would type. And it didn't even occur to me to get an Apple Pencil. Like I did not think that I was missing anything or that the app was limited or inefficient by not having it. So if you don't have an Apple Pencil, if you're not interested in investing in an Apple Pencil, you can still do nearly everything. No, not nearly. You can still do whatever you want with the app. I just went and bought an Apple Pencil after I recorded that stamps video at the Scriptation office, and I saw Steve using Scriptation and basically like how fast and quick and efficient he was, that I was like, oh, wow, I gotta get myself a pencil. So I didn't feel like I was being inefficient, but to see someone, the difference, I was like, well, now that I'm using Scriptation as much as I am, I was motivated and inspired to go get a pencil. And at the time, the iPad that I had, which was perfectly adequate and never felt slow or anything to me, but it didn't support Apple Pencil. So I actually went and bought a new iPad just so I could have a pencil, just so I could use Scriptation, because using Scriptation is that important to me. So.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I think the pencil is a fantastic tool to use in conjunction with it, because like you said, it is way faster than trying to do it with your finger, and it's way more accurate. So and a lot of the time when I'm, a lot of the notes on here are notes that I've made over the top of my my prep. So like, for example, on this image here, I'll just blow this up just a sec. It's a little bit behind. So like on here, we were shooting in failing daylight at the end of the day. It was a day exterior. I had to balance to something we'd shot the previous day when it was raining, and it was supposed to look like a bright sunny day. So all these notes that I'm making here, I've got to make really fast, and the pencil helps you do that, because you can also write very small and very accurately, which you can't do with your finger.
Have you heard people are talking in the chat about something called the paper-like screen protector, that it makes your iPad screen feel like paper by putting some actual drag and friction onto your screen?
No, I haven't, but anything.
I have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've used it. That's. I'm sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Anything that puts a bit of drag into the pencil is, to me, would be a bonus, because it does feel very pencil-like, but it is still a little bit slick when you're writing on it. So anything that gives you a bit of drag, to me, would be fantastic. So if someone wants to write down what that is, I'll jump out and get one.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I use the Apple Pencil, but I was saying in the chat too that when I was on set one day, I have a case that goes around my neck on a strap, and the Apple Pencil popped out of it or was in my pocket. So I would say I use it too, but like if I'm going to be in a place, it's like, I don't know, a desert location, I know I'm gonna be running around, then I just carry a cheap one in my pocket, leave the Apple Pencil in my backpack on set, and then I have that one. So if I drop it, it's not a big deal. So I definitely think you should use the Apple Pencil, but if you're worried about it on set, having another one just to make quick notes or draw lines can work as well, if you're, so you don't lose it.
Yeah.
And Scriptation will work with any stylus. It does not need to be a branded Apple Pencil.
Certain ones work. I mean, the one I bought on Amazon worked. It was like $10 and it was fine just for making notes and just real quick things. I was just afraid. After I lost it, I didn't want to bring it on set, but now I bring it back on set, but I was worried about losing another one.
It will, yeah, it should work. I think the big thing, and I don't know, because there are so many third-party stylists, but the big thing is palm rejection. Like if your palm is on if your palm is on the screen and you're writing with the pencil, of course, like with the Apple Pencil, it will ignore your palm. So I don't know how some of these third-party stylists work. It's kind of, you have to try it out, but the Apple Pencil does work great if you can afford that.
Got a few more questions for Rob. While we were talking, Josh says that he went and looked for the Documents app on the desktop app store and can't find it. He finds it in the iOS store, but not the regular desktop app store. You've used it on an actual desktop?
On a Mac desktop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just called Documents.
Well, no, the thing about Documents is it automatically connects to your services. So he has it, I believe, if I'm right, Rob, you have it connected to iCloud. So therefore, whatever's in your iCloud, Documents is just populating that. So you're using iCloud files and then Documents.
Yeah, I think it's called Files on the Mac.
Yeah, I think Files is sort of the regular operating system way of handling files, but I guess it's just a better way to go from one to the other. If you go Documents, we'll organize everything on those folders, and then you can just pull it up in your Files folder in Mac, right?
Yeah, the iOS file system is very different from a Mac OS file system. But basically the reason why like a Files app or the Documents app is helpful on your iPad is because you can actually see everything like a Mac. But if you're on the Mac, you don't really need an app to see it because you have the Apple's Finder where you can have everything there. So that's probably why it's not available on a Mac. You can just use the native Mac OS system to do that.
Well, no, someone posted in the chat a link to it. I don't think that it's not available. I think it's just they were having trouble finding it.
Yeah. It's not on Mac.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's only for iPad, right? Yeah, because
yeah.
Just use the Files app.
Yeah, you just use the
connect to your iCloud.
Yeah,
you just use the file browser on the Mac to do it.
And I'm gonna guess that the link in the chat is just to the product itself that will describe to you on their webpage how it works and how it interfaces for you. So we're gonna consider that question answered. Rob, someone named Rob Harmon wants to know if you know someone named David Gribble.
Yeah.
That they've done countless projects together and just wanted to know if you knew him.
Well, what he should do is say, Rob Draper said, "G'day, mate."
All right. Awesome. And then probably the question that everyone is answering, Rob Harmon says, how on earth do you make the time to create such elaborate notes?
All of us? Or...
No, you.
Oh, me?
I have the same question.
Well, here's the thing. People understand that I never sleep. And
are you joking, or is that the true answer to this question?
That's the true answer to the question. Really, when I'm on a project, I only sleep about maybe 4 or 5 hours a day. And I find I don't need a lot more than that, but my mind's going all the time. And so I'm always making notes. And when I go to bed, I'll have the iPad beside me, and I'll generally wake up around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I've got a million ideas, and I just jot them all down. And but everything that pops into my head goes into Scriptation, so that there's nothing gets forgotten. And especially, I think one of the guys was talking about sending notes to the AD on, we're going to be doing Magic Hour. And we just did a Magic Hour shoot. And if I hadn't written down the notes, I would have forgotten to talk to the AD and say, look, I need to be out ready to shoot this half an hour before the time, because I know when I want to shoot it and I know what I want it to look like, but I've got to be there ready to go and just wait. I don't want any pressure while we're waiting for that, because on TV, the executive producers see you standing around waiting for the light, and all of a sudden they start to panic. But if I hadn't written that in Scriptation during prep, I would have completely forgotten to mention that to the AD. So it was, it does work well for all that sort of stuff.
Do you want to talk anything more about your script or your pages, or do you want to stop your share screen and we'll just go back to chatting?
Oh yeah. I think, we'll let the other guys talk a bit.
Hang on. We've been getting great questions all along the way for the individual speaking. We're gonna soon move to just a general Q&A, which could be for specific people or for anyone. So if anyone has any questions from the audience that you would like us to touch upon, please go ahead, and we're coming towards the end of the webinar. So go ahead and get your questions in if you would like them answered. While we wait for a couple of people to submit their questions, I just want to do a little product show and tell, because I know that a lot of us have found like, oh, like Gonzalo was saying, I don't want to deal with an iPad on set because it's cumbersome. I was very quickly like going on Scouts. I'm like, how am I going to hold this thing? So I think Byron has the same case as me, only his is boring colors and mine is pink. But
that's very true.
So I got one that had a strap, that has a strap. So that when I'm on Scouts, that I can just, you know, carry it with me, or even on set. Sometimes I'll actually hang it on my cart. But that was very important to me. And Steve is going to post, Steve or Alex is going to post in the chat where you can buy this on Amazon. I'm sorry, I try not to shop on Amazon, but I don't know where else to find this particular case. It's got a silicone, you know, for impacts. It's got a handle that's rotatable. It's got a kickstand. I wish the kickstand let it stand up a little taller. It leans back a little too far, in my opinion. And it has a slot, a magnetic slot for the pencil that just rides in there. What it does not have is a cover to protect the screen. So I bought a standalone bag for it to keep it in, to protect it. I got this on Etsy. There's also a link, if you can put that in the chat too, Steve, of the people who make custom bags. So you can put in whatever, I mean, you could put any dimensions you want, but they have the measurements ready to go for whatever model iPad, whatever model tablet, ones for your phone, all different colors and fabrics. It's got a pocket and a little pocket, and so I can carry this around without worrying about scratching it up. So that's one of my favorite recommended accessories. I don't use this that often, but this is a little IO, well, I guess more input than output, but is a USB-C with, it takes a card reader, HDMI, USB. So this is handy sometimes. I didn't give them a link in advance about how to find this. It's kind of generic. I think you could probably just Google it. This one is made by Vava, V-A-V-A, or maybe it's Ava, A-V-A, which if it's upside down, I don't really know. I think it's Vava.
I have that same one. It's Vava. They're really good, that brand, yeah.
I have the same too. It's pretty good.
Does anyone else have any recommended accessories or things that they've found help their on-set workflow using iPads or anything like that?
I was going to say with yours that I have the old one with the one camera, but it actually does work with the case that says that it's the newer one. So if anybody has the older one, you can use it with the one Jendra has, and it just has a bigger slot for cameras. But because the ones that work with the older iPads don't have the connected pencil. So definitely get the one where the pencil can go in and it can charge, because if you buy the one where it can't, then you have to pull the whole thing apart every time you want to charge or connect the Apple Pencil, which is no good.
My case is, someone's asking, my case is not waterproof. There are waterproof cases. I could not find one with a strap on it. But I know there's another recording that is on the Scriptation blog, as well as Scriptation's YouTube channel, which is a similar format to this with directors, was done earlier in the pandemic when we were all in Zoom mania. The name of that, I think, is going paperless, or something like that. Steve, if you want to type what that's called or send a link to that, it's something like Directors Ready to Go Paperless. So in that recording, there are a lot of great tips, but also Valerie Weiss shows off her waterproof case. Michael Spiller has a little bracket that he can mount his iPad onto a stand. so that when he's directing, he has his notes live. He doesn't need to set it down or put it down anywhere. But if you're interested in scriptation and how different people use it, it's actually a great webinar. The content that's covered in there is quite different than this one, that we intentionally didn't want to repeat it, that you could, watch both and still get different takeaways from the two. So I would recommend, Steve just Scriptation posted in the chat the link on YouTube to the director's version of this webinar.
I'll just show you this this case. I was shown this by an AD in Australia, and it's an Australian-made case. And what's it called? stmgoods.com, and it's got a cover, closes over so you've got protection, and the cover comes back and will act as a stand. When Byron was talking about losing his pen, it's got the same thing, the magnetic holder up there, and you can do whatever you want to that. It will never come out unless you knock it out. But yeah, it's stmgoods.com, and it's fantastic. And the AD also had had one that has a strap, so he could carry it on his shoulder, and a hand piece for the back.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah. So that's what I use.
Mm-hmm. And another question from the Q&A: are there any other apps or websites that we all use in conjunction with scriptation? Kind of similar to the way Rob uses documents, or not similar, but what other apps do you use in the course of your prep workflow, your onset workflow? I'm going to guess everyone uses Artemis, Director's Viewfinder, various sun tracking apps like Helios. Gonzalo, you got
I like Artemis because it also, if you do Artemis and Helios, sometimes you take a picture with the Artemis and you can open the same location on Helios without having to, it just takes the data from the GPS and opens the sun tracking. So, which is good sometimes if you don't have a good a magnet, sometimes the phone is not great for the orientation. It gives you a floor plan. So, I use that a lot. And then Procreate for drawing which is great too, because you can do layers and you can do the transparency, you can erase stuff. And I import a floor plan from the art department, and now I'll do stuff on top, and then just export as PDF, JPEG, anything that you want, any format. And now it goes straight into scriptation if I want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I use that Sketchbook Pro to do diagrams and blocking diagrams and that sort of stuff off of scriptation, and then import it in as generally as a JPEG. I just do a screen grab and crop it and then import it as a JPEG. But I also use Shot Designer and story. What was it? Hang on.
The something 7.
Yeah, what was it? I keep forgetting.
But it's a bad
name. The name of it.
It's a bad name if you can't remember it.
I know. Storyboard Artist 7. That's it. Yeah.
And the other one.
Another one. Oh, sorry. Just really quick. Another one I like Google Earth or the Maps app, because you can do stuff like, you can do, let me show it here because I don't want to share the screen. You can do like a 3D idea of, you just go to a location and then you can draw on top. I draw on top of it on Procreate, and then send this to the gaffer if I'm not going to be there or whatever. This is where I think the corner should be, blah, blah, blah. And since it's 3D, kind of gives you a good idea of what you're going to be seeing and stuff like that. Sorry, go ahead now.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's not an app, but it's one of the most game-changing things that's happened. I think Shot Deck is amazing. So Shot Deck is something, if you want to pull images, it used to take hundreds of hours and you could barely find out what you wanted. And now you can do it in seconds. So shotdeck.com, absolutely one of the best.
Yeah, I'm going to say a little more about ShotDeck. I knew you were going to say, as soon as you said it's not an app, but it's game changing, I knew you were going to say ShotDeck. ShotDeck is a website, which is image search of various film stills. And a lot of people already know Film Grab, which is a great website. It's got tons of movies on there. But with Film Grab, you need to know what movie you're looking for. So if it's a movie you've never seen before, you're not going to necessarily find it unless you just spend an evening poking around on Film Grab. Well, it would take you more than an evening. There's a lot of stuff on there. But the wonderful thing about ShotDeck is all of the images are incredibly keyworded. So you can go in there and just be like, wide shot, blue, night, 1970s. Like, and you can just keep typing things and it will narrow down from whatever, like if you just put down, you know, blue and then there's like, you know, 10,000 images and then you put another one and then it narrows it down and then it narrows it down. And you can find movies in there that you've never even heard of, or maybe you never saw them, so they wouldn't have occurred to you. And it just makes doing lookbooks or pulling reference images incredibly fast and efficient. I used to be so frustrated with image search before ShotDeck. So it's a wonderful, the account, it's free to set up an account, but it's technically still in beta, because I'm gonna guess because there's so many images on there from movies that they can't just, you know, post that open and free to everyone on the internet for licensing reasons. But if you register for an account, as long as you know, fill it out that you are involved in the film industry, you will be approved, you know, very quickly for an online account. So don't let that scare you off. It's definitely a wonderful app. Does any of the panelists have any questions for each other before we sign off, or last call for questions in the Q&A while you guys are wrapping it up?
Jendra, I was gonna say, I think this is a new Zoom feature where people can raise their hand and we can invite them to talk.
Oh, this is what you were texting me about. I was too busy
yeah.
talking. Sure, let's keep going.
Yeah, I think if we can, I know maybe like 10 or 15 more minutes, because I saw a few people can raise their hand and ask a question. Of course, now that I say this, no one's going to do it, but I did see hand raises before. So if anyone wants to ask a question, not in the Q&A, but live, like a person, they can do the hand raise and ask anyone here a question. No one's going to do it.
Come on, somebody's got to do it.
Yes, Rob. Rob, do you have a question for our panelists?
Oh wait, we have one.
I see it.
We've got a question. Steve Brecken. Okay, all right, Steve, you're up.
Hey everyone, was really curious to hear how you guys are using Scriptation and other apps while shooting, how you're integrating things like camera and lighting notes, maybe archiving images for matching in the future. I would just love to hear, you know, you've done such a great job setting up in prep, but we didn't talk too much, or at least I may have missed what you're doing on set with it.
I can tell you something quickly that I'll do. I mean, I will, it's sometimes as easy as if I need to match something or match an angle, I'll take a picture of the monitor, and then I know that I'm going to go do the reverse later. I want to, you know, match everything. I just want it to be perfect. Then I'll just insert that picture, you know, right next to where we shot it in Scriptation. You can either do it on a facing page or just make it really small in the margin.
Rob, you have a pretty robust system for using it while you're on set to keep your notes. Yeah, can you talk more about that?
Yeah, basically, it's the same sort of thing. If I'm doing a scene where there's going to be a lot of coverage and a lot of angles, I'll make really detailed notes on where my light levels are and what my contrast ratios are, so that I can balance from angle to angle very, very easily. And so quite often, you know, I'll just draw a circle with a line down it and put the contrast, you know, the ratio from key to fill, or key to backlight, or fill, you know, key fill backlight, whatever it happens to be. And then I know that that gives me an idea of, as we're moving around the room, exactly where those ratios have got to stay. And I also use it for balancing windows, because, you know, quite often, depending on the angle you get on a window, the window will look brighter from one angle and darker from another. So, I use it for that as well. But it's mainly to keep everything organized for when I'm going around, because I do a lot of I make a lot of exposure adjustments when I'm shooting. I don't just set the exposure and leave it. I'm making little rides in exposure all the time. And what I've found is post-production loves it because it speeds up the final grade. And I can send stuff off to post that is very, very close when they combine it with my LUT to where we're going to end up on the final grade. So it's been making grading go very, very fast. But all of that stuff gets, you know, I note all that stuff down into Scriptation.
Mm-hmm.
Did that make sense?
Yep.
No.
Stephen, did that answer your question?
Yes, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, I don't see any other raised hands or Q&A. So I guess we will wrap things up. Thank you, everyone, for your time today and sharing your images and your process and giving us a look inside your creative brain. Make sure to follow Scriptation on all the social media channels. Lately, especially active on Clubhouse. For those of you who've gotten into the Clubhouse game, there's a lot of ongoing talks in Clubhouse, very often having to do with prep, since Scriptation is an app having to do with preps, very often having to do with going digital or going paperless, but certainly lots of other talks that have to do with the industry and filmmaking in general. So follow Scriptation on Clubhouse. Steve, what's the name of the club that you guys do host most of your talks in?
It's called Industry Talks. You can follow the club, search for Industry Talks. You can also follow Scriptation on Clubhouse, just search Scriptation, where it seems like Clubhouse seems really great, and we have some great panelists. Our very first club, Zach Braff, dropped in. So you never know who's going to come into a Scriptation room in Clubhouse, so you have to join it, you guys.
Exactly. Please follow each of our panelists on Instagram, all doing great work, including myself on Instagram. And I'm pretty active on Clubhouse, or at least I have been, but I'm prepping a job right now and then might be going straight into prep on a feature. So I don't know how much I'll be around on Clubhouse, but really.
If only there was a webinar about DP prep that you could have seen before you go into prep.
So,
oh yeah, this one.
Speaking of that, a lot of people are continuing to ask where they can find this replay. I've been responding that it will be on your YouTube channel. Will the people who have registered for today's webinar, will they get an email since you have their registration info, to tell them that the link to the webinar is now up online somewhere?
Yeah, as soon as we get it up, we're going to send out an email to everyone with, yeah, and you'll be able to watch it on YouTube really easily, no password or anything, just right in there.
And also Scriptation's website has a lot of useful information about the app. There are over 200 articles in the help desk. So if you click on the help tab is where you find a lot of the articles and videos about different uses of the app, different questions you may have. It's not that you're just going to report a problem or, you know, flag a service request or anything. There's actually lots of research and learning to be found there, as well as the blog page is searchable, and that's where the past webinars can be found. That's where different people who have been speaking. There's a great masterclass on Scriptation, which is a fabulous place to start to get a big overview. I know, you know, what we touched on today was not a class on how do I use Scriptation, how do I get started, how do you do this, how do you do that. It was more just sort of a sample of how people use it, but that's a great place to start if you're just like, wow, this seems really complicated, but Actually, it's not. It has a really easy learning curve. I have been on many films in prep and like tried to encourage my ADs or my director or my gaffer to use Scriptation, and they're like, oh no, we've already started prep and I have my system and I don't want to, it's at my system right now and I'm afraid that it's going to take too long. And I tell people, however long it's going to take you to learn, to install this, to learn it and adapt, you will make up that time within your first notes transfer. It's actually quite simple and quite intuitive. And, you know, as we were all so impressed with Rob's notes and we started with mine, like, you don't have to use everything that's in there. So it's not like you need a thorough understanding just to get up to speed and start to use the app. The free, like we said, there's a free version and various subscription versions. The free version does not stop working on you. However, there is a 2-week free trial of Industry Pro. If you sign up for the free trial, you can unlock all the features that are available in the subscription version. How'd I do, Steve? Did I click all the boxes? Is there anything else we need people to know before they leave here today?
I think that was the whole deal there. Yeah, just to reiterate, we actually, just to get specific about the help desk, the guy that runs our help desk is fantastic, and he can actually see the searches and then create articles based on the searches. So if a lot of people are searching for a certain thing, how to do this, we make an article about it, and we actually have a ton of videos on it. So we have 30 videos on our YouTube. And we have even more on our help desk. So if there's an article where a lot of people are asking some questions, there will be a really simple, 30 to 60 second video on how to do this, how to do that. So we're trying to be very, we try and make everything user friendly in the app. But if you have a question, the help desk is loaded with information.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. I hope you found this informative. And thank you to our panelists, and thank you to Steve and Scriptation.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.